On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, the CETME-L project, new vault doors, the AR-180 is back, and what in the hell is going on in Virginia? Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Marky and Freeze, and this is episode 123 of the John 1911 podcast. How you holding out this morning, Freeze? You sound like crap.
Well, I'm hanging in there. Man, I've been sick for like past week.
Yeah, so you know what? The doctor always says just drink more coffee.
Yeah,
that's what you need. Well, you're sick, here's some coffee. Here's some coffee. You don't feel good, here's some coffee. You tired, here's some coffee.
Yeah, coffee always makes things better.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into the podcast, I'm going to ask you this. It's reference to vault doors, and I don't want to be specific because I don't want to identify stuff for the armory. But the one vault door that you and I installed about a decade ago, that came from a military base.
Uh-huh.
Do you recall how much that weighed? I seem to think that the door itself was 700 and some pounds, and then the frame was, whatever.
I think the door was heavier than that. I think the door was 800 or 900 pounds.
Okay. So even if it was 900 pounds.
What's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Even if it was 900 pounds, go ahead. Then the frame wasn't that much.
The frame actually was a lot lighter, but it wasn't light, but it was a lot lighter than the door, of course.
Well, we're the reason I'm asking is we are looking into expanding, obviously, some of our storage here at the armory, and the company that makes that door, I had a conversation with them yesterday and again early this morning, like 8 o'clock. So. The modern version of that door, according to them, weighs 2,500 pounds, and it's not a mistake. I've seen the door. It's not like it's a bigger, deeper door or a bank vault door. A bank vault door would be even heavier. But this company, it was kind of hard to get a hold of them because they're like, "What financial institution are you with?" I'm not. We can't help you. Bye. And, it was like I had to fucking do an end run on them just to even get them to talk to us. So they're sorry.
Yeah. Well,
2,500. I just was like, man, 2,500 pounds?
Maybe the door's heavier than that.
Nah, you know what I think it is? I think the door that we have is from the 60s. Because it's
an old door.
It's an old, I call it the Curtis LeMay door. And I think this door's upgraded to the modern, the latest GSA standards out of Crane.
So withstand a hydrogen bomb, not an atomic bomb.
Possibly. So 2,500 pounds, and it's like, well, okay. And so that would be, it's going to be a big old drama getting, we're still negotiating. So I have a line on another door at another company that we won't mention, but it just was odd. So, hey, politics. The notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg, according to reports this morning, has apparently made a public appearance.
Well, have you seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's?
Yeah, everybody's making that joke, dude.
That was original. I just pulled that off the top of my head, but okay. I guess not.
Yeah. There's been all kinds of theories that she was holed up in a medically induced coma in Nevada. Some people were pushing that theory, and then there's other theories that she's already passed. And then there's look, there's two schools of thought here. When Antonin Scalia died, just hypothetically, Antonin, when he passed, and it was, one of the things that happens politically that causes a lot of drama in Washington is is if a Supreme Court justice dies out of order, I just had to flag somebody off from the conference room. It's like, get the hell out of here. We're recording. So when a Supreme Court justice dies out of order, and nobody ever talks about it like that, but it's kind of built into the conversation that last in, first out. And it's like, if they die out of order, it causes lots of drama. Well, the problem with Ruth Bader Ginsburg is she's not out of order. And if Antonin Scalia had become incapacitated and was on life support, and let's say the Republicans were like, let's keep him alive until we can cross the 2016 threshold, and maybe we'll get a Republican. The scandal would break the country in half. And the thing is with these Democrats, man,
Democrats don't care.
They don't care. They are so crazy freaked out on this that if they had an opportunity to basically, I would call her, basically bag her, you know what I mean? Like keep her in a bed, keep an oxygen mask on her, and just, keep her bagged up until they could cross 2020. I think they would actually do it.
They probably would.
They would, because as I haven't looked this up, but my understanding is the Supreme Court in the Constitution, it's very it's very vague. It doesn't even it doesn't specify. It specifies that a Supreme Court member is appointed for life, and it doesn't even specify the amount of members, I believe. And so the thing is, if she's alive and she's being bagged, technically, have we ever had a Supreme Court justice that's been incapacitated for a lengthy period of time before dying?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, we had a president. Was it Wilson? Who was the president that did that? Was that Wilson?
Well, they claim FDR was in and out of it.
Yeah, I don't think he was. Was it? Who was it? Like one of these guys had a stroke or something, and the wife basically ran the show for like a year or two.
I don't think it was Wilson.
I don't remember. I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. I didn't study. But here, I thought this was interesting this morning. So we talked about all that to talk about this. I think the word inside the Democratic Party is that they don't think Ruth Bader RBG is going to cross the finish line on the 2020. And so this morning, MSNBC has a story out that says, and I quote the headline, "Has the Supreme Court lost its legitimacy?"
Really?
Yes, really. That's
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Seriously, I mean, you literally.
So basically, they're throwing in the towel, saying, "Well, since we can't have it our way, then we should just get rid of it."
Yeah, that's kind of it's they all love the Electoral College when Hillary Clinton's the presumed front runner and winner.
Yeah.
I mean, why have an Electoral College? I mean, basically, why not just like New York, Florida, California, and Texas decide the president of the United States? I mean, why would New Hampshire have ever agreed to join the original 13 colonies if Virginia was going to run all the shit? That's the entire point of the Electoral College.
It's amazing how many people do not understand how the Electoral College actually works. It's
or why it's there, and why we have it's the senator thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, there is an argument that is to be made, and it's got some legitimacy. Okay, the 435 members of the House of Representatives, I think right now, if you break the numbers down, the 435 members, each representative basically covers like 750,000 people. And an argument can be made that that's basically impossible. And so there are people that can say, well, maybe we should, because supposedly they've capped Congress at 535 because they used to expand it. And then they capped it because it was getting bigger because, more and more states, more and more people. There's an argument to be made that's like, well, 750,000 people, maybe we should just add 100 more members to the House of Representatives and have it be a more direct representative, of each, because you have like these huge areas and huge groups of people represented by one man or woman. And, there's an argument. I'm not for or against the argument, but there's an argument being made that maybe they need to reset that a little bit. But then where do you stop? What happens when America becomes 500 million people? When, at some point, are we going to have 1,000 members of Congress? I don't know, maybe. So, it is what it is. So it's just, just interesting. Oh, we didn't talk about, I don't think we talked about this. Did we talk about the Covington Catholic thing?
We talked briefly in private, but no, not really.
Did you hear? Well, so I've heard from within the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office that they are planning on prosecuting people who made threats against the school. Apparently in Kentucky, this is interesting. They have a law, and it's weird because Kentucky's got, you understand this, what I'm about to say, but our average listener may not really understand this. You have misdemeanors and you have felonies. And one of the things is, misdemeanors are always, you can have serious misdemeanors and you can have real low level misdemeanors. And you can have up to like 364 days in jail, top end of a misdemeanor, down to, probation, community service, fines, other kinds of sanctions. And then you cross into felonies. And felonies are considered a very serious crime. And then, the argument is, how many levels of felony can you have? You can have, it's a felony to do something out of, shoot a deer out of season or something. I don't know if it is or it's not. But, then it's a felony to murder somebody. But how many degrees of felony can you have? Kentucky has something called a 5th degree felony. And I don't think it's used that often, but apparently making a threat towards a educational institution is a 5th degree felony in Kentucky, which means they could extradite you across state lines. The argument is the Kenton County Prosecutor's Office, the guy's come out publicly. He said, we are going to prosecute people who made threats to the school.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to see it. I don't necessarily know. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, what's a threat? And here's the thing. It's very specific. A threat to a school is not, that kid's face is so punchable. That is not a threat to the school. The threat to the school is calling it a bomb threat. There've been some of those. Some people that got on social media and said, somebody go over there and shoot up that school. That's a threat. Someone got on Twitter and said that. Apparently the prosecutor's office is planning on, they are going to issue, they're going to go to grand jury and they're going to get indictments.
Well, I hope they do. I really do, because this day and age of people basically being able to do and say whatever the hell they want with no repercussions is,
about a private individual who's a minor, who went to Washington to engage in political speech. And that's something a lot of people don't. If there is a form of speech that's the most protected in America, it would be political speech, and maybe in your home. I'm not quite sure which one's even more probably in your home is more, but political speech under the First Amendment is the highest bar. And this kid, they railroaded this little sumbitch.
Oh yeah, big time.
And so I'm telling that story to tell this one. Because you were working last night, I saw it yesterday. Did you hear that they've got a lawyer apparently somebody out of Nevada, which I thought was interesting because it's instead of it being like one of the local law firms that, has power and has resources, but, at the end of the day, they're not going to showboat like one of, like the big firms in the tri-state here. But this
Yeah.
lawyer apparently is in Nevada, and his firm, they're like, they look showboaty to me. Like they look like they would do things in a court that a judge, like, Your Honor, we wish to have this person extradited. And, the thing is, it's like the judge is going to be like, come on, let's all try to diffuse this. It's a Twitter account. This lawyer's, I think he's going to fucking go apeshit. They've apparently sent out a notice, I think, of potential litigation. They've listed all these media outlets.
I saw the list.
I haven't actually. I've heard people read off the list.
Oh, man, they're sending it to everyone.
Because here's the thing: if you were reporting on a story, like if we were reporting and we said, "Hey, man, did you hear about the thing and the kid and the hat and the dude and the drum and the whatever?" That's reporting a story. If we came out and we said things that were more of our opinions, maybe. No, I guess not. I guess can't be our opinions. If we were to expand upon that on the podcast and assign traits or actions or behaviors to this kid that are not backed up by the reporting, we could be sued for libel. And there's a real potential here that this Covington Catholic story will be the defining Supreme Court First Amendment case probably in 100 years as far as slander, libel, and saying shit about people in public. I think this one has the potential to go. This one could be, how like, the Miranda, Miranda rights, you have to Mirandize. It's named after a dude named Miranda, and all these different concepts. I think, man, I think 20 years from now, we could be talking about the COV Cath standard or the whatever this kid's name standard is. Hey, before we publish this, or before you say this, are we going to trigger a COV Cath standard or something, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what this kid's family wants. They're probably well-to-do, right?
Well, Cub Catholics, not exactly cheap. So, I don't know if they're well-to-do or not, but I'd imagine they're not, hood rats. And it's a pretty prominent school. It's a private school, so
yeah.
They don't let any simpleton in there.
So let me ask you this. Let me give me your perspective. Let's fast forward it a few years. One of your grandsons, he's 16 years old. And he's the kid standing before Mr. Fake, Mr. AWOL, fake ass fucking Indian bullshit. Like, I love how he's a Vietnam vet. No, he's not. Oh, he's a tribal elder. No, he's not. He's a fucking Indian dude. But if it was your grandson standing there and your grandson was the one, what would you and your family think? What would you do? Are you looking for money or are you looking for payback?
I'm not really looking for money, but I'd definitely be looking for payback.
That's what I wonder. If it's payback, this could be the new Miranda.
I'd definitely be looking for payback. Absolutely. Money, not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, hey,
although If this Vietnam vet tribal elder Indian dude has a share in a casino, I wouldn't mind snatching it.
Hey, you know what? The Catholic Church is already is already into the bingo gambling. If they could slide right on into a casino, I mean, they've already got the infrastructure.
Heck yeah, man. Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
you know, I mean, if there's anything like the mob, it would be the Catholic Church. Oh, they can run a casino. I ain't that. You know what? I'm not that afraid of the gay mob.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm Catholic. I can just, you know, I'm so pissed off at them. Hey, what the hell was it I wanted to ask you? So since we're talking politics, you know, the COV Cath thing, I missed it because I was busy. We got a lot going on. And then I guess this governor in Virginia, have you seen any of this?
Freaking mess.
What was that? You broke up on me.
I said, what a freaking mess.
So okay, there's this okay, is his nickname Coonman? Is that real?
See, I don't know if that's real. I almost kind of think it's not.
Okay.
Because that would be like, seriously? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is, but I have to think that it's not.
Well, what I saw was
Virginia. If his nickname was Coonman, I think we would probably have heard it.
Well, see, that's the question. It's like, okay, there's a couple things about this that strike me as odd. The first thing is, look, okay, it's a yearbook. All right. Okay, fine. It's a yearbook. Well, it's not a high school yearbook. It's not some 16 or 17-year-old kid that's like, snicker, snicker, snicker. I'm going to fucking do this. This is going to be hilarious. Because kids do stupid shit. This is medical school.
Yeah,
these people have to be minimum 22, if not 24, 26.
Okay. I got a couple points on this. Okay, you know, I mean, I graduated high school in 1984. I know how the 80s were. The 80s were different. Standards were different. I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not passing any judgment either way. But you know, frankly, this whole blackface thing just really wasn't that big of a fucking deal in the 80s that it is today. Hell, I just saw a news report that some, I don't know if it's a New York Times or an NBC correspondent saw an old photograph of West Virginia coal miners and was saying the photograph was racist because of the blackface. And it's fucking coal dust.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out of fucking control. And, you know, in the 80s, I'm not saying blackface was right, the whole KKK hood thing. But, you know, I don't know the context of this picture. Was it a costume party? Was it a play? Why was the picture taken? Why was a guy in a hood? Why was a guy in blackface? It could be totally fucking innocent.
The KKK hood is what kills this. And look, I am also a child of the 80s. And I distinctly remember, you know, I mean, like, dude, in the 80s, Michael Jackson was such a huge star, a huge music personality that white kids in America would, dude, between Michael Jackson and Mr. T. No, not Prince, Michael Jackson and Mr. T. How many kids, white kids that loved, especially Mr. T, dude, dressed up as Mr. T on Halloween, and it was blackface, and they loved the dude. I still love Mr. T.
Starter kits, man, with all the fake jewelry and shit.
Did it come with shoe polish? I don't remember. I mean, like to this day, I still like I love Mr. T. I have an irrational like if Mr. T was like, hey man, Mr. T needs money. What? Fucking there's a check. This 12-year-old Marky be like, oh man, Mr. T, we gotta take care of Mr. T. I mean, there was a lot of this back then. It wasn't this, but dude, the fucking white fucking rogue thing. But what strikes me is odd from a political standpoint, and this is weird. Just politics, okay? The guy's the governor of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he dropped out of space, into the race and became the governor out of nowhere. At some point, he must have been, an attorney general or a state representative or a county commissioner or a mayor or a city manager. And it's like, so you're telling me over the last 20 or maybe 30 years, how long this man's been in politics, that this Coonman, blackface, KKK, crazy bullshit never came up? It never came up in opposition research? I mean, if I was running against this guy in for dog catcher, and I saw that would be, I would nail his ass to the floor with that.
Well, Barack Obama's mother was a card-carrying communist, and no one said anything about that either. Politics is weird,
That's the difference. Communism is it, dude, back in the day, communists, I mean, you couldn't be certain things. You couldn't get security clearance if you were a communist.
True. Now half the Democratic Party are communist.
Yeah, it's true. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain that when you become a U.S. citizen, if you immigrate to the United States, on the forms, it still has clauses that say, are you or have you ever been a member of any communist party? And if you say no, and you're like, because they just check, and then later, you've been in the country for 10 years, and you're like, I'm a citizen. And they find out that you've been a member of the Communist Party and you lied about it on your immigration form, they can just fucking yank your citizenship, null and void, and fucking deport you. And that's still on the paperwork today. Yeah. But the president of the United States could be a communist. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Barack Obama. He was pretty close to being a communist. I mean, Ocasio-Cortez is obviously a communist. Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
It's just like, but how does this, I guess, but back to Coonman, how in the hell does this get this far? I mean, we know about Donald Trump. We know about every goddamn girl he ever dated. We know about every freaking building he's ever invested in. We know all this crazy shit, but it's like nobody ever ran down blackface KKK Coonman stuff.
Well, he's not been in the limelight enough, I guess.
It's just like
shit was buried in archives. It was a freaking college yearbook photograph.
Well, here's the thing that I also find interesting too, because it's just like the Covington Cath kids with this video and the Indian. It's like, okay, look, nobody asked this question, but the lawyers are going to ask this question, and investigators will be asking this question about blackface dude. Okay, the Indian and the people in Washington, all those people with cameras. There's some people. Excuse me. They had big old fancy cameras. That video that was released was edited to look a certain way. Who edited that video? Who filmed it? Who organized that? Who was the Indian colluding with? That's our new word now, colluding. How did we get? Because here's the thing: if I'm going to sue these people for libel, I want to know who the fuck these people are, and you can take this all back. Even the Virginia thing. Now back to the governor of Virginia. It's like, well, I'm not saying that's me dressed as in blackface, and I'm not saying that's me dressed in a KKK outfit. That's not me at all. It's like, well, wait a minute. Somebody put this yearbook together. There's got to be an editor. There's got to be an associate editor. There's going to be names. it's like real quick, somebody's got to be calling Jane Doe, who was the editor of the yearbook for that 1984, and be like, yo, baby, where the fuck this picture come from? She's going to be like, every photograph submitted to us was given to us by students. Or where did, you know what I'm saying? It's like, she's going to have an opinion on this. She assembled the book. Nobody talks about that. Did you hear the latest? I guess now there's rumor that he's going to resign. This is how Go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I've heard they've called for him to resign. I heard he said he's not going to. Then I heard he was going to. So I don't really know, but I've been working.
So check this out. And I've been busy too, but check this out, dude. So, okay, his lieutenant governor is a black guy. So his vice governor.
Or is it a white guy in blackface?
You cover it up, but your microphone. But say that again.
I said, are we sure it's a black guy or is it a white guy in blackface?
Oh, you know what? He's not a dark-skinned black man. I don't know. I mean, it could be Dave Chappelle. You know, like I don't know. So anyway, I'm looking at the guy, and so check this out. This is a little scary, but this is real world politics here. The lieutenant governor is this black dude, and he's apparently is anti-gun and pro killing babies, and he's the same as the other guy. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He's the same as the rest of them. But here's the thing. So now all of a sudden, there's been a story leaked that the lieutenant governor has a sexual assault accuser, like a sexual assault allegation in his past that's never been disclosed before.
Who is so the of West Virginia, of Virginia?
What was that now?
Who has vetted the governor and the vice governor of Virginia when they were running for office?
It was Hillary Clinton's vice presidential candidate was the governor, I believe. So, but Tim Kaine. But anyway, so check this out. So here's the theory. Like, where did this come from? Like, I don't know if this is a known thing. Like, if you live in Virginia and you're listening to this, do you know, like, the lieutenant governor? Oh, yeah, that's water under the bridge. That was some crazy thing that wasn't real. Or has anyone ever heard about it? But now the theory is that the governor's office leaked the story about the sexual assault charge allegations. I think it's an allegation against the lieutenant governor to make it less appealing to make the lieutenant governor, which then helps the governor's position.
Huh. Wow.
That is literally what they're all saying, because they're like, where'd the story come from? We have no comment.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's bad. It's bad, dude. It is so bad.
That is crazy.
And what this is all Virginia's turned into a purple state. Virginia used to be a conservative, I guess now red. I guess you call them red states. I mean, back in the day, it used to be the opposite. But you've got all these people that basically they're Washington bureaucrats. They all live in Northern Virginia. It's this, metropolitan area, Nova. They even call it Nova, Northern Virginia. And, the people in Southern Virginia, we would call it occupied Virginia. And it's becoming like New York. It's turning Virginia purple. And the idea being is to turn it like California turned Democrat. And that's what all this is about. And it's just like, this is slimy, goofy bullshit. It's just like, man.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about something fun. Because you had sent this to me like a week or so ago. Tell me about the Amish deer hunter that shot the 26-point buck. Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember the story.
Did he?
I don't remember the details to it. Shit. I mean,
okay. I got it here. So, Amish man fined $28,000 for poaching 26-point buck. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be Adams County, but Coshocton. How do you say that? Coshocton? Coshocton. Okay, so Coshocton, Ohio. Listen, dude, there's a photograph of this deer. It's like, damn. So check this out. We'll put it up in the notes. Amish man was ordered to pay $20,000 for poaching a 26-point buck. Excuse me. More than $1,000 for each point on the antlers that he had to forfeit. Junior L. Troyer, 43, of Millersburg, Ohio. That's a big Amish area, right? Entered pleas of no contest earlier this month in Coshocton Municipal Court to several hunting crimes. Providing false information while game checking a deer, attaching a game check deer number to a deer originally issued to another, taking more than one antler deer and a licensed deer, processing a deer or deer parts without a valid tag or permit. I didn't know that was a thing. Attaching an antlerless doe game check number to an antler deer, all third-degree misdemeanors. So check this out. Let's see if they got the story, because the story was really interesting. His hunting privileges were revoked for 2 years. He was sentenced to serve 60 days in jail. Dude, he was going to jail.
Good.
He suspended jail time and reduced the revocation of 1 year. Troyer paid a total of $28,000 in fines. So basically, you can do 2 years in jail, or you can pay $28,000 in fine and not go to jail and lose your license for 1 year. They're trying to hurt him. He's an Amish community in Holmes County. Okay, so here's the story. Here's how this transpired. And here's what I like about this story is this isn't that dissimilar to some of the things you might hear about in deer camp, say in the old days. And, now that we have the things are becoming more and more electronic, is there more or less room to wiggle on this? So listen to this. After shooting an 8-point buck early on the day of November the 7th, Troyer went back out hunting in the evening and shot a 26-pointer. So he filled his buck. He's like a nice healthy buck. Bam, he's got but a 26-pointer walks by.
Yep.
And it's like, look, dude, I'm not, we're hypothetically speaking, you shoot your 8-point buck, a 26-pointer walks by, and you're at deer camp. Do you shoot this is hypothetical, any of the DNR officers out there. This is a Sophie's choice. We haven't done this. This is just a theory. You're at a deer stand. You're being not you, Freeze, but just some third person. If you're in a deer stand and you shot your 8-point, but a 26-point buck walks right out of your deer stand, how tempting would it be to be like, wham, get on your phone to be like, hey, Ray, stop fucking hunting. I need your fucking buck tag.
Well, okay. Ethically, obviously, we know the answer to this. Ethically, no. Let it walk by. But, and this happens, I guarantee, okay, we're using the 26 point, but I guarantee you this happens all the time across the country. You go out, you shoot your 8-point buck in the morning, you fill your buck tag, you're hunting in the evening, and you've got a doe tag. You're trying to fill your doe tag, and a nice 8 or 10-point buck walks up. Well, let's not even talk about the big 26-point. Nice 8 or 10 buck. Real nice broad-beamed buck walks up. And, you're hunting in camp with a bunch of guys. There's guys that haven't filled a buck tag. You shoot it. And then, it's play, let's make a deal. Who will tag this buck for me? And I'll let you have a doe tag or whatever, and look, I'm not saying it's ethical. I'm not saying it's right. Obviously, it's illegal as hell. But that shit happens every year, all the time.
It does. Now, here's where it gets complicated. After shooting the 8-point buck, he went up. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. So Troyer went back out hunting in the evening and shot the 26-pointer, according to court records. He decapitated both deer and tagged in the body of the 8-pointer with the head of the 26-pointer.
Yeah, and I remember part of the story. And that, I find that so damn weird.
Hold on, it gets better. The next morning, he checked in the headless body of a 26-pointer as a doe. He threw the head of the 8-point buck in a ditch, and authorities later recovered it. So what he did, is Ohio electronic check-in?
Okay, yes and no. Yeah, I think it is, actually. You can still manually check it in, but there's, God, I haven't actually hunted Ohio in several years, so I kind of forget. But there was something with being a property owner. I forget. God, I'd have to look it up.
Well, forget all that, but listen to this. So he may not have had buddies with him or something. He may not have had access to other tags. But here's the thing. So I'm trying to figure out what his motivation was.
Yeah.
So he got away with it initially, but here's where he got fucked. So he takes the head, obviously, to a taxidermist because, yeah. And what happens, dude, we get this all the time, don't we? You send me a photograph of a deer that was in somebody's yard, or I send you a photograph of a deer that was shot over 2 townships over, and we start, and, you go into the processor or you go into the taxidermist and it's like, oh, yeah, freeze. Hey, okay, man, you got a good deer. And he's like, man, you got to see this one that fucking came in. And bottom line is this deer, the story was getting around about this 26-point buck because it was like this thing got famous on the streets. And the DNR heard about it and they were like, really? Well, fuck, because here's the thing. You shoot a 26-point buck, you're going to be probably the number 1 deer of the year, which is going to make the news. Well, if you're going to make the news, all of a sudden now everybody's going to be really paying close attention to all of your tags and how everything works. Did he get greedy? Was he already tracked because he had a buck that was in the system that he couldn't take out of the system because somehow it was identified somehow? Or did he did he get greedy and try to pass a buck as a doe? And he should have just.
No, here's what happened. He tagged his first 8-point buck in as an 8-point buck, and then he cut the head off of it. And then when he took it to the taxidermist, it's a 26-point buck. Well, the taxidermist
does the Ohio. Wait! I gotta stop you because the hunter or the listener who's listening to this, and I don't know the answer to this. When you tag a deer in Ohio, does it specify how many points on the tag?
Yes. No.
That's what got him.
Here's the thing: when you tag that buck in, you have to tell how many points it is.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So, because the DNR tracks all that information, so all of a sudden the taxidermist is showing everyone under the sun this big monster bullwinkle at 26 points, which, is normal. And then when the DNR goes to look at it, they're like, well, let's make sure it's legal. And they pull the tag number and they go look at it and go, this tag's for an 8-point buck, not a 26-point buck. That's where he got busted.
Yeah.
I'd say he electronically checked him in. And here's the reason I say he electronically checked him in. You show up at a check station with a deer with its head cut off, even if it's like, okay, so I got I shoot an 8-point buck and I've got the body in the back of the truck and I got the head in the back of the truck and the deer's not skinned out and the head's cut off of why? Why? Anyone who's a deer hunter would go, why would you cut the fucking head off that deer? It makes no sense. So I'd say he did this, electronically checked him in, and then when he took him to the taxidermist, he cut the head off because you only really need to take the head and the cape. You don't take the meat or anything to the taxidermist. So,
yeah, and so that brings the question. Okay, in the old days, you're at deer camp. There's 10 hunters.
Yeah.
You get hunters that they don't fill tags.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, this is a hypothetical conversation. This has never happened. This is a third party that we are using as a straw man.
Yeah.
And a guy's in a tree. He's shot his buck, but frickin' Bullwinkle walks by, and he whacks Bullwinkle, and then he goes around deer camp to pick up a buck tag. But the thing is, if it's a world-class buck, guess what? That's no longer your goddamn deer.
Exactly.
Because it's going to end up like on the news.
Well,
the guy that shot the deer is going to be like, yeah, it was like right 5 minutes before twilight or sundown, and then Cabela's is going to want to buy it.
Well, if I illegally shoot the new world record white-tailed deer, and I go back to camp, and it's just like, Marky, man, you need to tag this deer for me. Well, now instead of it being the freeze buck, it's the Marky buck.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, exactly. Cabela's buys.
So the lesson is, if a deer walks under your stand and you literally are like, I'm looking for trophies, and you got to make that choice, because you're not going to get away. You're not. That's the thing with the electronic tagging now. You're less likely to get away with stuff, like in the old days.
The truth is, if it would have just been, if he would have shot a small 8-point basket, and then later that evening he shot a really nice 12-point, and he did the same shenanigans with it, he probably would have never got caught. He got caught because it was just a big monster 26-point buck, and of course, everyone's going to look at it because that's something you don't see every day. And if the DR's looking at it, well, they're going to run the numbers just because, well, that's kind of what they do anyway.
Yeah. The DNRs, they'd show up at the processors, and they show up at the taxidermist. What's plural? Taxidermist. Is it S plural? S apostrophe? Taxidermist plural. They show up because I used to know a guy was I have a story. I don't think I've ever told this story publicly. I'm not going to mention the county. I'm not going to mention the name, but there was a guy. He was a well-known deer processor, and guys would bring in his. He's now retired out of it. But people bring in the deer, he processes the deer, and the DNR does come in, and they kind of look around and check things. And they found a deer that was in the processor's possession. And I don't know exactly how it happened. Like, hey, I don't know if because they were friends, the guy took advantage of the processor and told him a story. But basically, long story short, the DNR said, you have an illegal deer. And how did you take this deer? And the processor's like, I did not know, like legitimately did not know this was an illegal deer. Like maybe, it's Marky, his shit's in the truck, or just put it around back, because for some reason the processor kind of got crossed with the DNR that day. I'm not going to give the full story, but the guy who checked in the illegal deer at the processor opened his front door to a 44 Magnum to his fucking forehead from the processor. And it's a miracle it didn't end up in the news as a murder. It was, because it about wrecked his whole fucking life.
Yeah.
Because if this guy can't get along with the DNR, if he gets a reputation as having, being a troublesome processor that allows illegal, I mean, like his whole life was going to come. This was a serious job for him, and he was going to kill this man. You know how these country boys are; they get cross with you. It's on.
Yeah, well,
it's not a joke. Like, so many people listen to this. It's like, fucking deer. Who gives a shit? People go to jail. And people lose their livelihoods.
Yeah. Mess with people.
That's my. Oh, you think you're going to get over on your deer processor? Story. It's like, be careful, because the thing is, you can hurt your processor too.
Oh yeah.
If they catch processors with illegal deer, because there's a regulation as to how the deer have to come in, how the tags have to be managed, just like a gun transfer. And if the shit don't add up, you get the gun store can get in trouble, the processor can get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they have to make sure everything's tagged properly. Now, at the end of the day, I mean, the processor can cover his ass, but processor, I mean, the last thing a processor needs to deal with is DNR bullshit trying to cover his ass. I mean, he's got a decent processor opening weekend of gun season. He might have 300 deer out there he's got to process. He doesn't have time for this horse shit.
That's kind of what happened with this processor. They were friends. The guy was busy. I don't know how he got the deer in, but it's like, oh, I'm sure, yeah, it's fine. And then he got burned on it, and it got real bad. It got real bad. Like, I think to this day, like, these two people, it's best they don't see each other, because, imagine, like, seeing somebody that almost destroyed your whole life, how you would feel if you saw them at the corner market.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a small town, country boy, pissed off attitudes.
Sure.
I mean, like, was it the Hatfield and McCoys was over a fucking pig, right? Is that what that was over?
And that's still going on today.
So, all right, we got to talk about some gun shit. We've been going way too long. Do you know that we have a CETME-L parts kit that's come in? Right? Do you know that? You know what that gun is?
Yeah.
It's the green Spanish gun.
Yeah,
that's in 5.56.
Yeah.
Yeah, that runs like dog shit. And the thing is, I know, because I've seen them. There are pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets of these goddamn guns in warehouses in Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many of these guns in Spain, they get stolen and end up on the black market fairly easily. That's why I've never been like completely like crazy about like, oh, we're never going to see these in the US again, or the parts kits or the builds or whatever, because it's like, man, there's so many of these guns. There's going to be more of them. Well, long story short, I was like, okay, I found a company that was making barrels, and it's like, all right, we're going to get one of these parts kits. Found one at a good price. It's actually at the dealer, just because it's better to ship it there. We ship everything there, and there's, who Mark Colmar is, the semi-auto machine gun company in Indiana.
The who?
I think it's called Mark Colmar.
Yeah, I'm not.
They make belt-fed machine guns and semi-autos in Indiana. They're in Indiana somewhere.
I'm not familiar.
They do like the UK-59. They do like PKMs and a lot of Russian stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
They apparently they've come out this year at SHOT Show with they're doing, I don't know if it's like 3,000 of them, or that's a lot of them. They're doing CETME-L builds. But what they're doing is they've got the parts kits, but the furniture, they had some issue with furniture, so they had furniture made. And you can get them either in green or brown.
Okay.
and maybe black too, I think. And it's like, well, did I just make a mistake buying a CETME-L parts kit?
I don't think so. I mean, really, I don't. I mean, the you can buy those receiver flats pretty cheap.
Mm. Oh yeah, I don't have a receiver yet, but that'll happen next in a barrel. But the parts kits, you couldn't find them. They really dried up, and I was like, dude, fucking these guys. There's so many of these guns in Spain. I'm like, I can't believe you can't get more of these in. But I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it was.
So now the question is, do I have one built? Because probably Matt will build it. Do we have one built? And see if we can come in cheaper than Mark Holmar sells them for. But then if we don't, is the argument that we could make is, but ours has real furniture on it, so it's more correct.
Well, look.
Do you do that douchey collector thing?
Look, here's the thing. Since we already have the parts kit and receiver flats are out there, I mean, they're
oh, they're dime a dozen.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And the jig to bend them into shape is not that expensive. I just say we build our own. Well, when I say we build our own, yeah, not we.
You mean Matt?
By we, I mean Matt. Yes.
Yeah, Matt's actually shut. For our listeners who don't know this, because I think he's gotten more business since we've been publishing his work. He's actually shut down right now. He's in a he's not out of business. He's had to move his business, which is an FFL manufacturer, and he can't engage in manufacturing unless it's at the location on the address on the license.
Yeah,
so he literally, until they approve his new license, he literally can't function.
Yeah,
so he's actually
up with the ATF and.
Yeah, hopefully it's maybe no more than 30 days. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. I'm actually probably going to have a meeting with him today about some other stuff. So he's kind of crawling up the wall. So that's also pushed back to ZB26. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. What?
Freaking soccer.
Yeah, so his business is what's it called? Like there's some big like sports team has bought out like the industrial park where he's at, and so he can't be there anymore.
They're building the new soccer stadium for the local the new soccer team.
Yeah, I guess. I used to ignore soccer, but now with since I really am like actively against football, I'm like, well, hey, go soccer.
Cincinnati, I think is the name of the team.
Yeah, and so there's some drama. I mean, it's not real drama. I mean, sure, it's drama for Matt, but the reality is it takes time and money to come out because there's like got to be buyouts negotiated because Matt had like probably a 5 or 7 year lease. You know what I mean? So it's not like. Too bad for you, but his license, his business was much more complicated than say like the company next door that was making like toilet pipes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they could just pick up and move anywhere at any time, but his is a little bit harder. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's really pretty much. I know you've been sick, dude. We had this guy roll in on the website. Dude, you're not gonna believe this guy. He's got he's on the ZB26, and I think he must be an 07. He might be a collector. I'm not sure, but I think he's an 07. He has a website that does these. He sells like 3D. They're like Draftsman 3D prints of guns.
Yeah.
But he's also a collector. He rolled in and he's talking on, and the thing is, every time he posts on John 1911, it flags it as spam because he's got all these links and shit. So I'm gonna have to whitelist him. But he's talking like, yeah, I've got I've got this ZB26. It doesn't have a restrictor. I got a bunch of these parts kits. I played with a fully automatic version of this gun that was transferable, whatever this. And at one point he said, yeah, I've got 6 ZB26 7.62 by 39 barrels.
Really?
You don't believe it?
I don't know, man. A 7.62 by 39 ZB26 is not exactly a common item. And for one dude to have 6 of them, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to need to see proof before I buy into that.
He has provided photographs of a transferable Daewoo, like the T. So like we have the T91.
Yeah.
What came before that is like a T63 or T61 or T65. There's T66. There's an earlier gun, and there's only one transferable in the country, and on the NFA, and he says that gun's not his. That was a buddy of his, but he's got photographs of it, and he's got videos and pictures. This dude's a player. This dude's got all kinds of machine guns.
Okay, that's fine, but
so Well, the reason I'm telling you is if in the future we have a problem with a ZB26 739 barrel, he's going to have to be a guy that we're going to have to remember because, he might be the only source we could get.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it wouldn't be bad to have a second barrel. It
wouldn't. I mean, we're not friends. Like, I don't think he, I don't know.
For one dude to be sitting on 6 of these barrels, I'm not I'm not saying it's not possible, but I mean that would be pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me if he said that he because he specifically said he had 6 barrels, but I don't know if he was intimating he had 6 parts kits. Because what he said was, he said, I bought the kits when they were cheap because I normally fire 8mm out of my ZBs, but I knew it would be kind of cool to convert some of them to 3.9.
Yeah.
And he was talking about modifying these guns, like cutting open the mag well on the tops, and it was kind of interesting. So he may have parts kits.
Well,
I'm not sure what's going on there.
Possible. Because I remember the first Bren parts kit I bought from Century, and this was in the early 90s. It came in, it was the receiver was torch cut, but it had 2 barrels with it. It had all the fucking parts, and it was like $295. So, it's possible he could have bought a bunch of these parts kits cheap years ago, and he
did.
That's very possible.
That's kind of how all this works. You buy it when it first comes out, then, even Sweaty Ben or Bill or Bob or whatever his name is, when he comes out with guns, they're super cheap, and all of a sudden 5 years later, they're $500, and it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
So I just thought that was interesting because it's interesting as we publish more stuff on John 1911, showing kind of what goes on around here in the armory, just, on the ranges, or in the collection, in the arms rooms and stuff. More of the high end guys that we don't have contact with are finding us, and I've been noticing that. It's kind of interesting. It's been kind of cool. So, by the way, we didn't talk about this. So Brownells, they've got all their retro guns. And they're super cool. I like them. I
think it's. Man, I think Brownells is doing a wonderful job.
I was surprised to hear this. I thought Brownells was buying finished lower receivers and then just assembling them or having somebody assemble them. Apparently, somebody said that Brownells they're buying forgings and machining the shit out themselves. They've got the money to do it. I'm just surprised. I mean, Brownells has gone full manufacturer.
I don't know why Brownells would do that.
They're apparently doing it. I mean, here's the thing. What I'm about to tell you might actually be, because here's the thing. Like Brownells has come since last year to this year. Brownells has come out with like no less than like 7 or 8 rifle models.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they are just, I mean, like if they're coming out with that much more stuff, you know, it's kind of like when we were making T-shirts, you know, I mean, at some point the volume, makes more sense to do it yourself. And so, but check this out, 2 points.
Okay.
They've come out with a modern version of a AR-180. Did you see that?
I did. And I like that. I really do.
But just buy an AR lower, buy their 180 upper, and, you know, it's got like, you know, what, M-lock on it and a fore end that comes off, and, you know, it's got pick rail on top. I mean, you can run it as a modern gun. But it's like, I've been wanting an AR-180 for a while. The fucking prices, man. They just kill me.
It's crazy.
But it's like, fuck, dude, do we buy one of these and make a modern AR-180 and just run with it?
Oh, man, there's something to be said about that. And, you know, and the crazy thing is, it's really not that crazy expensive.
Oh, God, it was like their MSRP was like $700 and some dollars.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, dude. I mean, like, Brownells is crushing it.
Oh, man, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's gotten to the point now that Brownells walks in the SHOT Show every year with a big old fucking purple cape on and their Pimp Daddy Cadillac and just slaps the fuck out of the competition. It's, you know, and everybody's like, wait a minute, you're a parts company. When did you become a gun company?
Hey.
I mean, they walk in every year, bam. It's like, son of a bitch. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So now, because of Brownells, instead of having to buy an AR-180, now we have to buy now we have to buy 2 of them. Sons of bitches.
Well, I mean, you know, you buy this the 180 upper, and I mean, put it on any lower, or you build a lower for it. Well, I mean, whatever you want to do.
I mean, I guess ideally what I would do is, I mean, because you could put a folding stock on it, because it doesn't have the you know, it doesn't have the buffer system, because it's all up in the thing, and it's like, it could be an interesting little gun. I mean, if it's reliable, if it works. So I just thought that, you know, that was pretty cool. I wanted to. We're going to talk about this. We're going to let this one, because I know you're tired. You're really hanging in there, and you're fucking destroyed. Our old friend, the FNS pistols, have come back into the news.
Yeah.
My friend and yours. Did you send me that, or did I send you that
story?
Sent
it to me.
So here's what it is. I'm a fan of the FNS pistols. I have been. I think they're neat guns, especially the early ones, because they had a full-size grip that held 18 or 19 rounds. It had a Glock 19 size slide. It was fully ambidextrous. The mag release, it was fully ambidextrous, and it had a ledge sight on it. The refractor sight basically functions as a ledge. It had a good trigger, striker-fired gun. There were some downsides to the gun. The mag release was so big, because it was ambi, it was a cross push. It was too easy to hit that mag release, like in a holster. Like the outside of the mag release could be hit, and the mag could fall out. Or if you're presenting the gun for like flashlight work, you could drop your mags. I'd seen a lot of that. So what they were, so people were either removing the ambi feature, or they were shaving a lot of it down. And then they had issues with The early FNS guns, and people will deny this, but it was proven true, and FN fixed it. The guns could lock up. You could lock the gun up doing a certain move with the gun, especially if you're trying to tap racket. You could lock the gun up. And modern training methods, how you would unlock it, nobody would ever do it because it would be considered unsafe. And so you end up with a dead gun. FN fixed that too. They didn't admit there was a problem, but they fixed it. And then also on the FNS, the new generation of the FNS guns is the FN509. So they fixed all that issues, and then even on the Ambi mag release, they made the button radically smaller, and then they recessed it into the frame and cut a big scallop around the frame, so the button isn't as big, so it's harder to accidentally drop your mag and do stuff. So they've really, FN's really been working on this gun. And, I'm really familiar with these guns. And we have one of the old ones with the problems with
the old FNS that's in the armory right now. I like that gun.
We do like it.
And it's a good gun. It's got its issues, of course, but man, it feels good. It shoots good. It's a good gun.
Yeah, that's what I think. The 509s are probably really good guns because they've had time to work with it. But check this out. Baltimore County Police revealed an issue that I had never heard of with the FNS guns. And I was like, holy shit, that's another fucking problem. So here's the story. Baltimore County Police to replace FNS 40 with Glock 17 following accidental discharges. So they had a bunch of people. That is never good. And, look, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because, at the end of the day, a guy pulls the trigger on a gun and it's your responsibility if the gun goes off. Yeah. But this gun, what it did, I'm gonna check this. I'm gonna check one out of the armory and I'm gonna fucking play with it and see if we do it. If I recall, what they said the problem was, if the gun was out of battery and you depressed the trigger for whatever reason, which a lot of times in some of these guns, you got to pull the trigger to take them apart, so, but if the gun is out of battery, you depress the trigger. If the gun goes back in the battery, the striker falls and it gun fires. And I was like, holy shit. Because at the end of the day, look, the user's finger's on the trigger, and I understand that's his fault. You don't pull the trigger, but the thing is, if you're holding back a trigger that you think is dead, sliding that slide comes forward, that's a party foul. Yeah. Because that gun is firing that is not the movement of the trigger that's firing that gun. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that was the final straw that made FN go to the 509. I was wondering why they dropped the FNS line and morphed it all to the 509. This is the reason, because they were getting calls on it back in 2013. Huh. And they were having problems. They apparently problems began in 2014. And, they were having some of these initial FNS problems with the guns locking up. That was happening in 2012. Yeah. So I'm going to actually pull the FNS because I've kept that FNS because we need it. I refuse to send it in to get it fixed because we need it for a very particular legal reason. And I'm going to pull that gun out. I'm going to see if I can't get it to discharge. Dropping out of battery reset. I'm going to be like, son of a bitch, are you kidding me? And, FN knows how to make a gun. Oh, yeah. And the 509s are a hell of a gun. But if I can get the FNS to do it, we're going to have to check a 509. Maybe next time you go to that one gun store chain, you could pull a 509 out of the case and see if it'll drop the striker. Like, what are you doing? Nothing. So yeah, That's that's an argument where the FNS, the FNS is, it lost the Glock.
Yeah. Well, but you know what though? Uh, from the PD's point of view, man, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And again, someone's listening to this and they're going to be like, well, fuck you, fucking don't pull the trigger, obviously. But here's the problem. And again, this is always the issue with the guys on the fucking internet that don't understand how this works. At the end of the day, if you're a police department and you're running around your city carrying a gun and doing your job, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
And you have to follow, the covenants and the restrictions and the parameters of that insurance. That you have to get, you have to go take a class with your state to pass. You have to be shotgun certified. Everyone knows how to fucking run a shotgun. I mean, mostly, it's not that hard. And but if you're not certified and we haven't proven that you know how to do this, and you shoot somebody by accident or shoot yourself, if this FNS gun gets a black mark on it and it's switched from user error, workman's comp issue to it's now flipped to design problem, gun problem. Why the fuck are we still carrying these guns? And the insurance company has to pay the claims on it. Yeah. That gun is gone. Yeah. That gun is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a liability issue. I mean, and
liability in the real world means money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if your insurance drops you don't have a police department.
Actually, there was a PD that closed down a couple of years ago, fairly close to us because of that.
I recall that PD that had a lot of issues.
Actually, the insurance company did not drop them. The local municipality was corrupt as hell, and they never paid the premiums.
Yes. That whole town had issues, and when it came out they didn't have insurance, you don't have a police department anymore. Yeah, because here's the thing: if you're a cop and you're working somewhere, and even if the city's like, go on out, you're fine. But here's the thing: everything that happens out there could possibly be. You could take your family's house away, your kids' college funds away. You're going to be like, why the fuck would I work here? I can go work at the next town over.
Yeah.
Or go work at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
I mean, people just, the gun form kids just refuse to even accept that this is how all this works. And it's also true within the insurance community. The things it's kind of like girls with bad reputations, or guys, I guess. But there's sometimes enough claims are made, even if it's not the fault of whatever it is in theory, that just things get a bad mojo taste to them. And basically they're like, we're not fucking insuring this anymore. Go get a Glock like everybody else, dickface.
Yeah.
Every fucking department that we insure has Glocks.
Yeah.
And you don't, and we have half as many AD claims as you do.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what's going to happen. On your next rotation, when you were going to cycle out these fucking guns and you're getting Glocks, or guess what? You're going to get where the fuck we tell you to get, because we're your insurance company.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way it is. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about what you like. This isn't about what you prefer. This isn't about what you think is a better platform. This is all about dollars and cents in politics.
Yep. So our old friend, your friend and mine, the FNS 9.
I like the FNS 9 though. I do.
That's why that's part of the reason why we never got rid of it.
I mean, I would never carry it as a daily carry gun.
Didn't you have one for a little bit?
For a minute. I liked yours so much.
Yeah, but you carried an XD45 at one point, and you were like, "Oh, this is a fucking mistake."
Sucked. Man, that thing was like carrying a brick.
Dude, be like carrying a cinder block. Brick my ass.
You know. But hey, look, at the end of the day, the FNS is a really, I mean, it's a good gun. Like I said, the issues that it has prevents me from using it as a daily, as a daily carry gun, but as a range gun, and it's a fun gun to shoot,
I haven't looked at my shooting times from like 2011, 2012 and compared them to today.
Yeah.
Like on some plate racks, and actually, because we have a plate rack solution we'll talk about maybe off pod, but I'm going to have to. I suspect, in a way, I almost fear it. I think I've never shot a gun as fast, accurately as I did an FNS 9, and I don't look at the number because it would bother me if I did. That's how good I shot that gun.
Well, you know what?
And I went from a 1911 with 8 fucking bullets in it to an FNS 9 that held like 19 or some shit. And it was like, Jesus Christ.
Well, you know what's going to be interesting is when we get our plate rack, we're going to have to break the FNS 9 out and put it in rotation with a couple Glocks and the HK and, and the VPs and just, run different platforms.
Oh, Officer Mike came out to the range. The one day that was 1 degree.
Yeah.
We were out there all day. And
chill.
I didn't even look at the wind chill but it was at least 15 mile an hour winds, if not. What was the wind chill? Official.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
20?
it was like 20 below.
It was cold. Yeah. I almost got frostbite on my hands at one point just because I had to deal with touching a bunch of metal and dealing with stuff. But we were actually able to check the back of the range. The erosion back there is not as bad as I thought it was.
Good.
Which is good. So we can still get the grass in and get some of that to clean up. Mike was. It was interesting because I didn't think about this. So we have a steel target at 300 yards that's behind a giant pile of trees that I was cutting down. I have to burn a lane through it because it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's probably 9 feet in the air, and it weighs tons and tons. But the 300-yard target, a human silhouette target, is basically it's blocking that target, and you could only see about the shoulders and the head. And, we haven't had a chance to do a burn yet because I gotta have I've got to have water and a tractor and maybe the fire department ready because if we set the whole fucking county on fire. So anyway, it's like Mike's out there and he's like, "Where's the 300?" And I was like, "Look at the wash, the second wash, you'll see a head." And it was his favorite target. And his point was, he goes, when we come out with the SWAT team, he said, "Why don't you give us a lot of these partially exposed targets?" I don't know why did it even occur to me to do that.
I know it did. It didn't occur to me either. But it's like, well, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't do it with a full-size silhouette target because that's a waste of a lot of money. But the thing is, dude, we can hide little plates all over the place. Yeah. And, they can try to find them and, do whatever. So, and actually it was interesting too, because he was even discussing doing a stalking exercise where you drop the guys off at the back of the property and have them stalk in.
Yeah.
And then get set up and then get on the radio and be like, "Can we see you?" I don't see you. Can you see me? And they're like, yeah. Then like the instructor holds up a number and be like, read the number. And then he reads the number on the radio, and then they still try to find him. And if they can't find him, he gets to take a shot into the pit up over your shoulder. The instructor, and then they pass the stalking exercise so they can get in a position and not be seen.
That's it.
I was like, and the thing is, my whole time I've been looking at the rifle range, I look at it from front to back, and I haven't, and we've discussed shooting back the other way for some special purposes, but I didn't even consider it in terms of like stalking training. I was like, man, I hadn't even thought of that. Mike had some really good ideas. He was all over that range too.
Good.
He actually picked out a new position for the 600 yard, a new cheaper position for the 600 yard shooting as well.
Oh, good.
So it was a good time, but it was cold as fuck. But
I was sick.
You know,
you were out there getting frostbite. I was curled up in bed, sick as a dog.
Yeah,
I lay in bed for 3 days.
Yeah, you still sound a little rough, but
I still feel a lot rough. I mean,
hey, you know what? I came up. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said I feel better than I did, but I'm not over it.
Yeah. Actually, this occurred to me as well. I came up with this while we were out there shooting. It was like, you know what? It's our goddamn range. It's our rules. There's no reason I can't run a truck up by the briar patch, turn it sideways, keep the truck on, roll down the windows, put a shooter in the back seat, put a shooter in the front seat, and just keep on rocking. Shoot in the cold weather.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I got to go because my phone's about to die. So
okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, this wraps up episode 123 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see pictures or links to the things we discussed, go check out the comment section on the website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. And remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.